So, hello everyone, and welcome to Magus of the League. So, I'm Lee Bond, and this is my co-host Chris York,
Hello.
League legend, Perun of the Celestia, God of Amonkhet. So, and this video is a video podcast where we're going to talk about Magic League. Magic League being a format lasting 5 to 8 weeks, where you add a single pack from the format every time you lose a game until you're finally eliminated after the 11th loss, or you're one of the lucky few, the chosen, who make it to the glorious ranks of the top 8 and do the mega draft. So, let's get started, jump right in. So, league news for us this week. Quick points. I'm just going to fire these off because they're very superfluous. Registration's closed. League has officially begun. We are 30 or so people.
26
people. Solid league.
Yeah.
Our ranks have grown to an international level because while our league has fired, we also have a Columbia League. So that's starting up.
That's right. We got some news last week that one of our ex-players at League of Face-to-Face decided to open up his own chapter, so he's currently launched it. He's negotiating with the store about what exact form the format's going to take in the coming years, but so that's exciting. I also reached out to the Battle Zone in Dubai and to see what the current status is with them, because I used to run a league over there for about a couple of years. And so we might have a sort of international consortium of league chapters in the future, which is kind of an exciting possibility.
Already going global, already going global.
Yeah.
2 podcasts in and it's worldwide.
Yeah, well,
international fame.
Imagine by the end of this league where we'll be.
Okay, so on that note, if you guys want any information regarding the league, whether it's the standings of the current Montreal League, the full extensive rule set for anybody that needs information, there's also standings and clips and articles from past leagues that are up there. All the information you can need. The website is f2fleague.wordpress.com. That's f2fleague.wordpress.com. You can just Google Face-to-Face League Montreal and it's the first thing that pops up. So, now that that's out of the way, let's jump into the strategy stuff. So, first things on the topic, major plays of the week.
Right.
So, I had no major plays of the week, starting off at a terrible, 4-5 after week 2.
Yeah.
Middle of the pack and below the average middle of the pack, I want to say.
Yeah.
But you had some 2 big plays that you wanted to tell us about this week.
Well, to be fair, I wanted to talk about a match I lost and to talk about a match I won.
Okay, so these are your plays of the week.
There might, I did.
All right.
I didn't spend a lot of. I was conferencing last week, so I didn't spend a lot of time kind of looking over people's shoulders. I do like to watch people play League, but in this case, they're both related to
fair enough
matches I played. So before we were all assigned guilds in this league, you could play anybody in week 1, and you were assigned your guild based on your performance. I ended up playing Tim Martoni. And usually with Tim, we have this thing where he plays me, he either gets mana screwed, mana flooded, or draws a poor sequence of cards that he can't afford to play. And I'm happy with that arrangement. But this time it went a little differently. So Tim opened a crazy deck full of Aurelia, March of the Multitudes, and Deafening Clarions, and he basically played every rare in his deck. Which is exceptional.
Yeah, very exceptional.
Yeah, normally you play 2 or play 3 and you feel happy that you got that many in. Tim's greed was rewarded. He just had some amazing plays.
But he's playing 4 colors or 5 colors?
I think he was playing 5 at the time.
5 colors.
Yeah, if you count the hybrid cards.
That's very greedy, even for League.
Yeah. So he might have been only playing 4 colors of mana, but I think that with the hybrid you always get that 5th color you're playing 4. So that was interesting. It turns out Tim's in my guild. I probably shouldn't have played him. And in the game that I won, here's a strange one. So do you know the card Truefire Captain?
I do.
Yeah.
4/3 for 4, 2 red, 2 white.
Yeah.
From the cycle, it's the Boros one. Whenever it takes damage, it deals damage to target player.
Right. So let me ask you a hypothetical question. If I'm attacking you with the True Heart Captain,
Truefire
Captain.
Yeah.
And you have a 10/10 and you block it, how many damage are you going to take?
10.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Because unless it tramples over, it takes the full amount of the damage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Jules either forgot that this card had the text, if you do damage to this card, it will deal that much damage to you, or he thought, as he claimed actually afterwards, that it only takes the damage required to kill it.
No, unless it tramples over, it takes the full amount of damage of the brunt. So
so I felt
the damage has to go somewhere, right?
So after that damage had gone on the stack, and I said, okay, I'll put that damage on the stack. He wanted to takey backsies, and I felt a little bad, but
no takey backsies in League.
At that point, I played an instant as well.
Yeah.
On another creature, and
just to solidify the total absolute victory.
Yeah. But that was a moment where it was a tainted victory, right? Because you want a nice clean win. You don't want anyone to feel cheated or cheesed. But in that case, I felt like I had to lay down the law and say,
see, me personally, I just run with that feeling. So I'll give you a play of the week. I'll throw it impromptu. Okay. I was playing against Antoine Dufour, who is the current Demir Perun.
I'm familiar with his reputation.
And I'm his only loss.
Yeah.
And he has the Dawn enchantment, 2 costs, 1 colorless, 1 white. You can pay 4 to make a 1/1 lifelink token. Every time you gain a life, you can pay 2 to draw a card.
Yeah, it's a beautiful card.
We were playing in our matchup, and it was game 3. After 2 really hard fought battles, I pushed an aggressive start against him, and he was way down to about 4 life. Managed to push through for the win, only for him to realize 3 turns before too late that he had forgotten to activate 3 times just to make the 1/1 blockers that lifelink, which is a substantial amount of damage. You block a 5/5, gain a life, that's 6 damage 3 times, it's 18 life.
Right. So due to his forgetfulness, I'm assuming
I pushed through.
Right.
So because
you drank his sorrow as if it were a sweet wine.
So after this, he proceeded to be like, oh, if I had seen you, I would have activated that. You kind of sharked me. And I was like, I looked at him and I was like, yeah, I sharked you. The time was, I was so focused on my play, I completely forgot that he was activating too. I wasn't paying attention to his mana.
Yeah.
So, but like when someone feels that you've sharked them, I just like, to make myself look better, I'm just like, yeah, I sharked you. I knew what you were doing, even though I had no idea. So,
well, I mean, it's not your job to make sure that your opponent plays optimally.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. That's not your job.
No. If it's a May trigger or an optimal activation, I usually don't remind. But if it's a must, then that's the guideline. So
and so in that case, I had to remind him that he was taking
10 damage,
whatever damage it was.
Yeah, after the blocks were declared.
So that was it for the big plays of the week.
No, you got your loss to tell us about.
Well, that was Tim Martoni.
Oh yeah, right.
And of course, we're talking about Tony. I'm doing a Perrin versus Perrin battle with him just after this podcast. So we're excited to get to that.
How that went.
Yeah.
So going into number 2, we've already had a week, 2 weeks at this point while we're recording with Guilds of Ravnica.
Yes.
How does it feel, man?
It feels better than I thought it would.
See, my perspective is it felt worse than I thought it would.
It felt very subjective.
Super contrasted. I mean, it's very, very subjective.
Yeah. I've won more games than I've lost mine, so my judgment might be colored by that. Right? Yeah. I'm having a great time.
I mean, we have a point by point here, but I'm going to jump right to number 2.
Yeah.
Because this is where I've had the most issue.
Okay.
And how is it that we should be playing as a guild to help each other out and rebuild? Because I have rebuilt my deck 5 times.
Okay.
And I am currently 4-5. As I said, mediocre standings, average at the best.
Alone or with friends? Like, did you have a second opinion or a third opinion on this?
So I had a second opinion on my rebuild before the guilds were formed. I haven't had any opinions on my rebuild since then.
Okay.
But the thing about League is that when someone gives you a pummeling defeat, they'll be like, you shouldn't play this, you should be playing this, blah, blah, blah. Like, they'll kind of throw you some tips.
Yeah.
Because they'll be like, why did you play this? I felt it was bad, you know?
Right. It's helpful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So now we have the League mechanic.
Yep.
Which we had already discussed.
So we have 5 players for each league.
Yeah.
So, and then we have 1 guildless member.
Yeah.
Because we had a sort of unexpected dropout. So he's guildless. Meanwhile, everybody else has 5 players still.
Yeah.
At the end of week 2, they will still have those. So, you're asking why, or how it is that we're supposed to help each other out?
Yeah. What's your approach to rebuild? Have you rebuilt first of all?
Oh yeah.
Okay. And have you been helped out by anybody in your guild to do this?
Okay. So here's the thing. My guild is bonkers.
Yeah.
I happen to be very lucky, and in my guild, I have Robert Anderson and Gabriel Wa.
Yeah.
They're both past league winners as well. Tim Martoni, who's been playing since the very beginning of League at Face to Face, and David Jung, who is a very strong player, and he won a one-day league long ago. We don't like to talk about that, but he's also very good. And I feel like it's going to be more or less we are a pack of wolves. You don't need to tell each other how to hunt. Just so far. So we have a strategy. We have a chat. Yeah. The Selesnya strategy chat, and wherein it's mostly me just saying, "Hey guys, shouldn't we plan something?" And people are like, "Nah, just go out there and kill things." But so there's that strategy aspect, right? You want to help each other out with in the broadest strokes. Like, who should you be playing? Are there any enemy guilds you want to take out first, or any players that you think need to be thrashed early and often? The rebuilding aspect hasn't really come into play yet since it's only week 2. We've only had the guilds for 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, but I feel like you rebuild a lot in the beginning, and as the league progresses, you tend to rebuild less. Like once you solidify into your strategy, you just want to kind of add to it rather than rebuild completely. I've rebuilt late.
I think that's a blindness.
Is it though?
Yeah, I think so. I think because you start thinking about 4 packs in. Okay, this is as good as it gets. These are my 2 colors. I'm going to stay with them forever. But I tell you what, if you take 3-4 losses in a row, and you don't reconsider your color pairing?
Yeah, but that's it. Late in the league, how many people are going to say take 3-4 losses in a row late in the league?
It's happened.
Very rare, though.
I've started out strong.
That's the killing blow,
I've started out strong, and I got this victory mentality. Like, I can't be stopped, and get arrogant, and then, maybe week 5, just get hammered.
Yeah.
So it happens.
So currently, at this point, the guilds, there's been a lot of trash talk between the guilds, but they haven't had that much of an impact strategically. Let's say that.
Not yet.
But
it is only week 2.
Yeah, it is only week 2. So I say we put a pin in this line of following the guilds strategically until we can see some real impact.
Sure. I do want to note one thing.
Sure. Go ahead.
Before we move on. It's a new idea that we're trying out with this league, but I think people haven't really cottoned on to the fact that your guild is your life insurance.
Yeah.
So if you're not going to top 8, boy, you really want to put all your effort into making sure that
your guild gets up there.
Yeah. Somebody else in your team makes it for you, because then at least you get a couple packs at the end of it for showing up. Whereas
that's true.
Otherwise, you don't get anything for landing inside the top 8. So there should be some sort of communal spirit brought on by this kind of material incentive.
Yeah. Although I'm in a guild where I quote you from earlier, my Perun said survival of the fittest, they'll figure it out. And
Niv Richard.
Yeah, Niv Richard. I don't know, man. Like I said, I think it's been a minimal impact. I'm not being in the bottom half of the league right now.
Yeah.
Not thinking about the guild, I'm just thinking about survival.
But it'd be nice. It'd be a nice treat if you got a couple of packs. Let's say you do scrub out. Let's say worst case scenario.
I mean, the trophy's that mega draft, man. The argument to it is, I do understand. One, it has appeal to the casual players who not necessarily, like you said, will top 8 or everything. But I think the aggressive competitors, an extra pack or 2, we all win those in sealed and draft anyways.
Sure.
It's what we're looking for is that mega draft experience almost. The 5 packs. Or the 8 packs, this set will be 5 packs. Count more or less. Anybody of us has 5 packs sitting around on a shelf that we can use.
Yeah.
But the mega draft experience only comes around once every 3-4 months. That's the prize.
That's the maximum value. But gamers gonna game, and if you can get a couple packs here and there just by playing shrewdly, why not do it?
And it is to note that those packs will carry forward because they will be Guilds of Ravnica packs. So in the next set, the next, you can use those.
Exactly.
All right. Moving on, we're talking about known performers in which guilds and notable newcomers in which guilds. You already mentioned your A-team, dream team, Space Jam Monstars of a basketball team, of a guild.
Yeah, I got lucky.
Let's talk about the other guilds. So in my guild,
let's talk about
we
yours.
already talked about, we got Richard Koffler.
Niv Richard is the Parun.
Niv Richard is the Parun. Yeah. Any notable newcomers from my end?
Okay, so, you've got... Well, yourself, you're a league veteran. You've done how many leagues?
This will be my 4th league.
4th.
Yeah.
And you've
actually 5th league.
You've been a solid performer.
This will be my 5th league, yeah.
Okay.
And I've top 4'd one and I've top 8'd another.
Yeah.
Commander League top 4, I don't know. It's not really a top 4, but it's
something.
It's something. I powered through. I left my stain on that league, if you will.
That's right.
So
you left your funk all over it.
All over it.
Yeah. But so you're a solid player.
Yeah.
Richard's a veteran and a very, very good player. He obviously was one of the 3 players who made 5-1 that we'll talk about later on. In terms of Michael, he's a bit of an unknown quantity, and so is Benjamin. Roman is notable for having gone 0-6 in week 1.
Yeah.
So he, not the performance of his career, he's done better in the past.
So here's the thing about the guild that I have a question regarding, because I'm not on the rules committee, so I didn't do the assigning of the guild. We had a number of players who didn't even start until week 2. Exceptionally, this gig, I think one of the things is we really push is that in the promo committee, we're like, you can sign up till the end of the week 1 and you can not take attrition till the end of week 2.
That's right.
And now we have week 2, and tonight we were playing, and a bunch of people, like we have 4 players starting out at 0-0 in week 2, which I think is pretty rare. Like,
it is rare.
So those people were qualified into guilds based on their ranking, but they're fresh. They haven't really ranked out yet.
Right. So anybody who had 0 points, we had no other way to assign them but alphabetically.
Okay.
So we just did that. Anybody at the bottom of the charts, just, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Yeah. That's the only way we could do it fairly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's not fixed.
It's not fixed.
It's not fixed.
So,
or if it is, it's fixed in a way that's random and going to help everybody. So we know this. The Selesnya were more or less a party of equals. It seems like it's more top down.
Yeah.
Right? And in terms of the other guilds, Boros is interesting. So Chris Gortz, he strikes out. He sticks out to me as somebody exceptional for Boros. He knocked me out, I think, of, what was it, M-Night? No, he knocked me out of Dominaria League. I wrote an article about it. It really hit me here.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to have another face-off with him next week.
He's a strong player.
He's very good.
Does he have a Pro Tour past?
I don't think he does.
No? Because he strikes me as a Pro Tour quality player.
But he's a very good player, and I think he's a grinder. I think that's how you'd put it.
Because I played against him. He kind of re-emerged recently. I played a couple of games against him in sealed formats and some constructed, and I found, like, very, very smart plays. You have to play optimally if you're going to beat him. Yeah,
I underestimated him. I played him in the past.
Very rarely makes mistakes. Yeah. I think that was he's a strong player. So yeah.
So he's like the sort of star of Boros. Yeah. Julian, he's top 8'd a number of times before.
He handed me my ass, pardon my language.
Yes.
Right the other day. It was a beating and a half. Yeah. So it prompted a rebuild right away.
You can speak to his abilities. Cameron he's snuck into one top 8 before. Yeah. But he's not a regular performer. He's the kind of, God bless him, he's a good player, but so disorganized. He show up to the league, to the club like 3 hours before the weekly deadline and say, hey, I need to do 5 matches. Will anybody help me out? So it's tough.
I remember him when he was blessed with a battle bond partner who didn't show up for 6 weeks. So
unlucky. Yeah. That was unlucky. So Cal Lee, he was the last joiner of the league, and he got paired in with Boros. He's normally a very good player, although today he started out the league 0-3. So it's a bit of a losing streak for him. And Jean-Rene, unfortunately, I don't know much about him. Hope to play him later on, but I don't know much about him. He's a unknown quantity.
Yeah, I haven't played him yet either, so I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully these guys will make a splash and add to the quality of our league, Yeah. So it sucks to be in the 4-5, but if you get some fun matches off it, it's worth it. Yeah, it's worth it.
So you have anything to say about Gulgari?
Let's see. Johnny. Yeah. Johnny Mariani.
He's back.
He's a beast and a half.
He's back with a vengeance. He was absent all summer. He took
If I know him, and I don't know him that well, he's probably playing some Selesnya Boros hybrid beatdown deck where he just, anything that, like, if he's super lucky, like, compared to what I've seen in his Dominaria decks and stuff, he probably got 3 Conclave Cavaliers and he's just running all of them. Just the ridiculous amount of values and aggressive beats on turn 4. I've played him and beat him in draft and sealed, and he's dealt me punishment over and over again. This guy is like, even in the store, he's known as the king of limited, like lives and breathes limited formats. It's crazy.
He's a bit of the MacGyver of League. I've seen him pull off some amazing builds with some really wretched cards. It's like you put him in a room with an alarm clock and a bottle of aspirin, he'll make a bomb out of it. Oh, yeah. That kind of player. Now, that can backfire on him sometimes, because I've seen him at the PPTQs, and he tried last time to make a really clever deck, and it kind of
backfired.
Yeah, it didn't work out the way he liked. So, but those are the minority of builds for him.
Yeah. Most
of them are very strong, very effective, and you don't want to let down your guard.
No.
Against him. And for the rest of them, Amir, also a former league winner,
powerhouse, yeah.
And Johnny too.
I mean, I don't want to spoil his deck, but there's a spice that it's built almost on a modern deck structure. It's ridiculous,
really? Yeah. Well, he and we have this thing called the Planeswalker Challenge.
Yeah.
And so every league we try to go through and add one pack of every standard legal set before we start to double up. It's a way of kind of adding an extra level of limitation on your builds.
If my record keeps going the way it is, I think I'm going to do it reverse.
Okay.
I've already added 5 packs of guilds. I think I'm going to do core and backwards for my last 5.
That's not a bad idea.
Just finish out. Like, if you're going to lose, you might as well lose in style, you know?
The way I think about it is, like, they make sure that every expansion doesn't have all the answers or all the threats, right? So, and what they've done is they've created an ecosystem that works well in isolation.
Yeah.
Each set is meant to be drafted on its own now.
Yeah.
And so what that means is that if you bring in, a specimen from another plane, maybe the answer is it appears at a lesser rarity in, for example, Ravnica than it would in Ixalan or what have you. So you can kind of sneak up on people, and people don't see those cards coming either. They have all the dominant threats from Ravnica memorized, but they may have forgotten what to expect from M19 or from Dominaria. So I think that's a good thing. But going on through the other members, Kevin I have not played against, but I understand he's a very good player. And I think that Ronan and Isabella are relatively new. I think they've both gotten one league previously, and they haven't made top 8 yet, but who knows, maybe this might be the one.
Yeah.
This might be their time.
Might be. You can't sit on your laurels even though you're up there, you know?
And the last, we have Demir.
Yeah.
Again, we said Tony was the Paran of that guild, and Paran basically means that you're the member of that guild with the most points. And if you close the league out, having been the Paran for most weeks, then you get an extra pack. So it's a little incentive to have some inter-guild competition as well as competition between the guilds. On his team, he has some very solid performers. Justin was the co-winner of the Battle Bond League, and then he went on to win another league. Did he win M19? I think he did.
Affectionately known as Pigeon.
Yes, Pigeon. Yes, Pigeon. He better known as Pigeon.
Yeah.
I think he won another league on his own. So he's
I feel like it was a Rick's one. I feel it was before I came in.
Maybe.
The one directly before, I think. I think it was Rivals. Or an Ixalan block one. I don't know. I don't know. I'm speaking out of nowhere.
We should probably have these stats up in front of us.
Right away.
But anyway, very strong player. He actually, there's a funny story about Pigeon and I. We got our first pro points together at GP Montreal a couple weeks ago.
Nice.
So we kind of both broke into that rarefied air. As two league guys kind of competing against hardened pros, we felt like they had to hit each other's backs, and it was fun to have that experience. Jesus, new player, but wow, is he good. He came second in his first league, I think.
Yeah, so I recruited him into the first league.
Right.
I was talking to him. I think this guy might have Pro Tour experience in his past.
Okay.
So he is one to watch out for. But yeah, really optimized player, really aggressive, knows his stuff. He made a huge mark on Commander League as well. Mm-hmm. He's very good, very, very good. So also, Isabella is his girlfriend. So make sure you don't put out like a death mark on, for vengeance or that type of stuff. I know me personally, when my girlfriend Eleanor gets taken down in a way, I like to go after that person and really punish them the next time around.
Okay, but you guys are in different guilds. You're battling each other as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll still do it. I've done it before. I'll do it again.
Well, how do you rate Eleanor then? She's in the Demir guild.
I think she's a learning player.
Okay.
But she'll surprise you. You want to talk about Tim Martoni? Like ask him from last guild. You don't underestimate, because at some point, one of the reasons that Magic is so fun is variance is a huge factor. And if you can be sitting on the best hand of removal in the world and think you've got the game locked up.
Yep.
And if your opponent sits there and it doesn't matter how much experience, if they tap every turn and play a threat that you can't deal with every turn until you can't deal with it anymore, you're just going to lose. And I've seen it happen multiple times. Last league, I think she peeled off 5 wins, still averaged. And those players, you know...
What a run.
Yeah, it's not amazing, but for someone who had never really played Magic at all before that,
yeah,
you know, it just shows you to the game, you know? Like,
yeah,
that's
I was rooting for her, I remember, during that streak.
And the thing is like, if you think about it, it's like, that's a 33% win percentage, and I, who top 8'd the last league, had a 50% win rate. So it's not a huge difference, you know, couple years of practice, or just a couple of wins here and there, and she might be a top 8er herself, so...
And the last one we got to discuss is Jules. As we said, he seems to be a beginning player. Needs a little bit of assistance in that regard in terms of the rules and in terms of, let's say, clean play. But he's also very good.
Yeah.
I remember in Commander League, he was one of the ones to watch for.
Yeah.
Very strong build.
Try to avoid him because I have an ongoing curse with him.
Oh, yeah?
I can have 25 land in a 60-card deck, and I will still not draw a single land when I play against him. It's unbelievable. Every game in Commander, in any league, even practice games on the side, I just get completely mana screwed every single time.
He gets me too now and again. Yeah, he's dangerous.
He's got a power over the mana flows. A power over the mana flows.
So that's the overall picture of the tournament as it stands in League 2. We're going to see a lot of shakeups in the standings, especially as some of these players that just joined up actually begin to play their games. And begin to put up records. We'll see how it's going to develop.
So moving on here, we have about 10 to 15 minutes left. The first thing we'd like to just talk about is how has Guild be for you? What did you build? What are the strategies that you've seen? Have you seen the archetypes? Has it paralleled to what you played in Sealed? Is it completely different?
Well, for me, I guess I'll go first, and then we'll get to your experience. So I'm running Boros splashing blue, right? So I get the best of 3 colors, which it seems to be pretty powerful so far. I'm currently sitting at a 5-2 record, which isn't too bad. What can I say about the build? I'm trying to keep the curve as low as possible, and I'm trying to punish players who have the same or greater level of greed in terms of the colors they're playing, but maybe don't have the discipline to watch the curve. So I'm trying to come out early, trying to produce threats that they have to deal with at all costs, with removal that is more expensive than the creatures I'm playing, and grind out an advantage that way. There are a couple of card drawing elements, but that's not really, the focus of the deck. I've got a backup plan in blue, but that's my tertiary color, so I'm not really, doing the heavy lifting with that. But I'm pretty happy with the build. I tried an alternative Abzan build. It was just too slow and dorky and inconsistent, and for whatever reason, it didn't flow in the same way. So I went back to my original modification of my original build, and it still seems to be doing the things I needed to for now. How's your build?
Varied, I don't know how to put this. I don't know how to put this.
You're like a world-weary veteran.
I honestly, I was making a joke with Amir earlier today. I was like, at one point today, I was two losses away from just conceding the whole league.
Wow. And
walking away and being like, done with this format.
Wow.
I think I made a mistake. So in the previous show,
right,
we discussed opening strategies.
Yes.
I think a lot of people went down the heavy guilds path.
Yep.
And from someone who is probably in the deeper end of opening packs, I think that's a mistake now that I've been there.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why.
Sure.
I have found it incredibly difficult. I found that the bombs that I've opened have been super powerful, like beyond any previous bombs that I've opened in other leagues.
Sure.
I have found it almost impossible to find the curve support that I want. So because of the multicolor, because of the gold factor, I'll have, as an example, I opened a Doom Whisperer recently. Now that's a card that you think everybody would play. But if you look in my curve, the first creature that I have in black is 2 Pilfering Imps, and then I have no creatures in my curve up to one copy of the Centipede.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is like all my removals in that color as well. So I have 3 dead weights, and then I have 2 tidy conclusions, which are also way up the curve.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, cool. Turn 1, pilfering him. Turn 2, do nothing. Turn 3, do nothing. Turn 4, do nothing. And you try and pair it with some nice color combinations. And I found there's only one guild that I had any support in the 2 range, and it didn't pair well in those colors. It's basically I'm into the Boros decks now.
Okay.
So I started out with like an Abzan build.
Yep.
Then I went into a Sultai build. Then I tried to do the 5 color strategy with the gates because a lot of people seem to paying off. I have 2 of the enchantment, the guild summit. Mm-hmm. And because you're opening so many packs, you have a good variety of guilds, whereas in like a draft format, people can pick those up and you can get stuck. Right. So I had enough guilds to do it. Guild gates to do it. So I was right there and I still didn't pay off. And then finally, I switched into a really greedy Izzet build.
Okay.
And won 3 in a row. Pushing myself back up to break even in my first week.
Seems good.
Took that greedy Izzet build back this week and got slammed 2 games in a row. So, not hitting land drops, not pulling good cards, the bombs that I wanted not being there. Basically what you were talking about, those greedy kind of builds, is when they're powerful, they're really powerful. Mm-hmm. When they're not there, but I had no choice because now I have a build that I'm trying. It's a little bit more consistent, but to be honest with you, like I was so angry, I just took every 2 drop in my pile and jammed them into a deck. Like I have nothing above 4 in my entire curve.
That's dangerous.
It's dangerous, but at the same time, it has a coherent strategy, which is fine.
Yeah.
But
it has the virtue of being consistent.
I couldn't get it there, and it was so frustrating. And I don't know what it is about the curve and the colors and the build of the format, but I never had that issue at all in any of my sealed or draft experiences. So it could just be that I'm super unlucky in what I'm pulling in my pool. But it's been very, very hard to find the support that I want, as opposed to, I think, the nature of the single colored previous formats is that you'll, as an example, in Dominaria, if you open even a single copy of a 2/2 Knight or the Gallant Cavalry or whatever, it supports itself. Whereas here, you're relying on a lot of synergies and stuff like that. That if you don't have, you're floating in a big pack of nothing. If you're not hitting those synergies, you're worse off than if you were playing a vanilla card that was more aggressive from the previous formats.
Gotcha.
And that's been my feeling with it so far. Who knows? I also made the mistake of wanting to play Big Papa Niv Mizzet, who's like my favorite card in the set. Everybody says it's greedy. Every time I've had him, I've cast him, and he's still lost. So he's, I think he's a powerful threat. I think it's the timing too.
Well, let me try to offer you some support. I'll extend the olive branch here, and even though it's against my personal interest as Parun of the Selesnya Conclave, after this podcast, I will offer my assistance to you to rebuild.
I mean, you can look at my current build, but I think I'm pretty happy where I'm at right now.
You're happy where you're at?
Yeah, I'm happy where I'm at.
You're slapping away the hand.
I'm not slapping it away. I don't want to reveal all my tricks and secrets. So if you're in a Boros build, you rely a lot on combat tricks. Yeah. If you show all your combat tricks to the person, you're probably going to end up playing at some point.
I'm going to scan it. It's going to upload it directly to the Selesnya strategy chat group.
Okay, so overall feelings with guilds, that's us. Mm-hmm. We wanted to do a player profiles, kind of a quick summary.
Just a quick one, yeah.
Everybody who's basically, this league has been different in the sense that usually there's kind of like a bell curve spread of over the players in the first week. This one has had 4 players at 5-1.
3 players.
3 players at 5-1, one at 4-1.
Yeah.
Who are the Peruvians.
And myself.
And yourself as a 4-2.
Who snuck in at 4-2.
Yeah.
And barely on tiebreakers beat out Tim Martoni in the same guild.
Barely, yeah.
So, I'm the junior of all the Peruvians, but I want to prove myself here.
But that point differential in the early league was like, I don't know. Like I said, I don't have that much experience in the league, but it seemed abnormal. Like there was a lot of people at 0-5, 0-6, or 1-5 or 1-4 or whatever, and then a lot of people at the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah, spiked.
And nobody, I think we were 3 players at 3-3 at the end of week 1, and in a 26 person league. Yeah. Like it was very, very spread. So let's talk about some of the players. We already hit a lot on them on the guild, so it'll be a quick run through.
Yeah.
But let's do it. So, Rick Mizzet. Let's call him Rick Mizzet.
Sounds like a pop star.
Yeah, Rick Mizzet.
Richard Koffler, a.k.a. Niv Richard.
I like Rick Mizzet better. Rick Mizzet, man.
He's your Perun. You shouldn't be that insolent to him.
No, I'm fine with that. He already told me I could just survival of the fittest. He's like, lose,
sink or swim.
Yeah.
I mean, look, obviously he doesn't have... I don't think he has any intention on making a concentrated effort to mentor anybody except for... He kind of has a soft spot for Roman. He wants to help Roman rebuild from the ashes and make something, but I think that's more like just an isolated experiment. I don't know if he feels...
Because it's such a deep hole. He'd get double victory points for bringing him back and also carrying himself.
That's what captured his interest. So he's a kind of, he's an isolated figure in his own guild even. So he's a kind of an enigmatic player and one of the best performers, obviously, from week one. God bless him.
All right.
And Chris Gortz, we covered that already. Very solid player. Johnny Mariani, back from retirement and showing us what it's all about. Yeah. And also with the trash talk. I mean, he's in the past, he's been the trash talk king. He used to... Conan Barbarian memes were... Conan the Barbarian memes were his thing. So he would show, for example, his opponents trampled underfoot with arrows with their names pointing down to them. Just kind of openly mocking people.
I always like how he would do the edited old cards, like the vintage cards.
Yes.
Contextually. Those were the best ones. Like it'd be a quip. He would do like that, and then just like in Reign of Sorrow or whenever when someone was like salty on the chat, or he would do really good ones like that. This league in particular, keep an eye out for his football memes.
It's very weird. It's throwing me for a loop. I mean, it's the
and that's why you're 4-2 and he's 5-1. It's all a mind game.
The trolling is very abstract, I would say, and very indirect. He just keeps quoting sports statistics at people who are doing poorly. Yeah. And it's baffling.
It's baffling.
I was just...
It's working.
I'd rather someone sort of directly saying, they're just laughing at you or mocking you, but this kind of like weird indirect derision is almost worse. Yeah. You sort of like don't know how it's...
All right. We talked a lot about players.
Yeah.
I want to end on a quick strategic talk with cards. So last week we kind of did top 4 of our favorite bombs.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of the bombs from constructed sets. The Demon Whisperer, Doom Whisperer, the Phoenix, the Mizzet, Aurelia. All these are played in standard currently and have really shifted the metagame. However, there are cards that are played in standard in constructed formats that maybe don't have their place in League. And I've had arguments with players whether they're good or not.
Okay. 2
such cards, one of which I'm actually playing right now, so I'll get criticism. And I'm going to start with red because we'll probably do this every week. Okay. But in red, Risk Factor and Experimental Frenzy. Good or not in League?
Yeah, they're great.
Are they though?
Yeah.
So my feeling is...
It depends on the rest of the deck for Risk Factor especially, but also for Experimental Frenzy.
Yeah.
They need the right decks to support them, but they have the power, the implicit power in them that they just need to be built around, and then you've got a wonderful bomb.
So the thing is building around those kinds of cards is incredibly difficult in League. And I'll tell you why. So when I played Experimental Factor, I had it in my Izzet deck. Experimental Frenzy.
Yeah.
I had it in my Izzet deck. And one of the things that I found is like typically in League, in the early stages, you have more lands.
You do.
Hitting lands on Experimental Frenzy is bad. It's really, really
Unless you
bad.
have reshuffle effects.
Exactly.
Extra land drops.
It's very bad.
Yeah.
So, in that regard, I kept being like, top deck land, play the land for the turn, another land, I'm screwed, can't play anything, terrible. In the deck that sees it in constructed play is a very light red deck where you jam a bunch of aggressive weenies and then play that, and then you just want to top deck. It's even playing like 18 lands. Yep. So how do you build that in a League deck? You can't.
Why not?
Because 1, it's really difficult to get to a monocolored so early.
Right.
2, that kind of aggressive build and tempo, like you're not going to get the consistency that you would from getting 4 copies of the same card over and over and over again. You know, I can play a turn 2 Boros Guild Mage. It's not going to give me the same aggressiveness as a turn 2 First Strike Raid Goblin from Ixalan, you know?
Okay, but, you know, worst case scenario, you just blow it up and you play the cards that are in your hand.
But any card that you have to take a turn off to play and then take another turn off to blow up doesn't seem that good to me.
I mean, if you're lucky and you have a lot of low curve on color, let's say you have a very good Boros deck, and let's say you're just running 2 colors, you're not being greedy, and the curve is low enough, I could see this giving you the late game gas that you need to go over the top.
Fair.
Okay. In any other build, it's probably going to underperform. It's probably going to be an unwelcome inclusion. And the same thing with risk factor. I think, like, if you're playing a slow defensive deck, risk factor is doing nothing for you. You might as well just throw it in the garbage. However, if you're playing an aggressive deck, if you're getting the damage in early, then risk factor is going to be guaranteed card draw.
Yeah. And that's cases. Why I put them. They kind of fall into that same build.
Yeah, they do. You have both those cards, do you?
No, I don't. I have experimental factor, but I had the argument about risk factor is that I was playing against the Is It Control deck.
Yeah.
And someone risk factored me and I was like, take 4 damage. And then they like jumpstart risk factor again, take 4 damage. And then they proceeded to never deal me damage for the rest of the game.
Oh, okay.
And I was just like, so what was the value? Is that it's 6 mana for 8 damage. Sure. But you also did nothing while I beat you down.
Yeah, you got to do the other 12 somehow, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You got to have a plan in mind for the other 12.
Because the real advantage of risk factor is it's because it's instant speed browbeat essentially.
Yep.
Is you don't want the 4 damage. You want to put the 4 damage when they're at 6 or 8 to put the pressure on them, or you want to put the 4 damage when they're at 5 and they're like, no, draw the cards, right? You want 3 for 3 instant speed cards. That's what you want.
Sure.
So it has a very specific build. And I haven't really dabbled in all the other colors yet. But I'm wondering if there are other colors that'll have that kind of thing. You know, very conditional, very build-specific cards in Ravnica. So, yeah. I don't want to bring it up yet, because we've got to save some stuff for next time.
That's right.
But it's been a pleasure talking with you, Chris.
It's been a great pleasure talking to you, too.
Yes, just bring it in. So, once again, to end it up, if you have any questions, information about the league, you can go to ftfleague.wordpress.com. That's ftfleague.wordpress.com, and we will be uploading this to YouTube and the links to there, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks, and of course a big shout out to the league sponsor, Face to Face Games, who keep this thing running with.
That is correct. That is where the F2F League comes from.
Right.
So
yeah.
All right, and good luck in Colombia and Dubai.
Yes. Until next time.